Hey guys, thank you everybody for being patient. We're going to give Jay just a minute to hop in. For those of you who don't know, my name is Stevie. I am a customer success manager here at PhotoDay. So today we're going to have Jay Boatwright on from smaX Photography, and he is going to be going over taking your image quality to the next level. He is going to be going over how he tackles increasing his photo inventory with multi-pose progressions. And he's also going to talk a little bit about his post-processing methods that help him get images out faster and easier so that he can take on even more business. So he's got lots of awesome things to share today. Couple of housekeeping things. You guys are welcome to use the chat. Please, everybody chime in. If you have questions for Jay, go ahead and leave them in the Q&A section of the chat. And we're going to have a section during the webinar where we go over all the questions. So, hi, Jay.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm okay.
All right. So let's get started. I went ahead and introduced you and went over what we're going to be doing today. So,
okay. All right. So I guess, how long do we have, Stevie?
We have approximately 53 minutes.
53 minutes. Okay. Yeah, all right. We'll see what we can do. This is going to be as close to a virtual boot camp as we get. We really don't do anything online, but this will be as close as we'll get to it. So if you guys have questions, make sure you ask them today. All right. Remarkable photos, extraordinary sales. Okay. I guess kind of the history, a brief history of our companies. We're just out of Atlanta, Georgia. And when we started, we had a lot of big competitors that we really couldn't compete with the way they wanted to compete. They did big rebates, as much as 30 to 50% rebates to leagues. So if you even want to talk to a league, you have to give a huge rebate. You have to do buttons, you have to do magnets, you have to do board member discounts, which is a bunch of stuff. And the two big guys, there's two, maybe three big guys, and they would just compete on who's giving away the most money or who has the latest, I call them tchotchkes or whatever ridiculous little item that the lab had at the time. So that was the environment that we were put into, and we were completely broke, so we could not compete with that. We had to keep all the money that we could. So our strategy is to take really good photos. We wanted the good thing about our competitors is their photography wasn't very good. They're more business people. They just wanted to. They're kind of like organizers. They collected all the forms, they took some quick pictures, and their strategy was to take photos that were good enough to where the parents wouldn't return the photo. $20 to $25 average order. And that was just their way of doing business. And they just want to get more and more volume. So they're making $5 or $6 a head. That's all they were after. So they just try to keep getting bigger and bigger leagues. And we came in smaller. We were very small. We just want to take really good photos. So we targeted leagues that were tired of bad photography. And if they were tired of bad photography, then we had a good chance with them. So we started small. We grew really small, really slowly, and it just started to snowball. And everybody started getting into, okay, we see there's something else out there, so let's have this better photography. And so we're actually able to bring the rebates down. The rebates, one of the companies is completely out of business, so you can see where that took them. Another one of our competitors, we really don't compete with them much anymore. Maybe some, but we're able to, really kind of re-educate our North Atlanta market to where everybody demands good photos. And it was just kind of we had COVID come, and we were at the time when COVID started, we were 30% PhotoDay, 70% paper order forms. And paper order forms was kind of a nightmare for those of you who've been through it. Those of you who never went through that, just consider yourself lucky. It was really stressful, and it was really limiting because it would take us about 3 weeks to get the photos back to the league. So we would have deadlines everywhere with leagues. We had to make sure we got the photos done before the 3 weeks at the end of the season. So right at the end of that season it was really rough around here, and it was difficult mentally and physically for everybody in the office when we're using those paper order forms. So once COVID came, we used that as an excuse to switch all of our customers over to PhotoDay. We didn't want to have, tables where we had people touching order forms and pens and things like that. So we decided, let's just use this as an excuse, keep everybody spaced apart, and everything's going to be done online. It ended up being a really big blessing for us. Our average orders went way up. The participation went down because people weren't used to it, but I've been using it 4 years now. That's getting better and better and better every year because parents are used to buying. Everybody's used to buying things online, used to buying things on their phone. So we are increasing sales every year. So it was really kind of a perfect storm for us. And not to also think about the technology advancements in the camera world. So when we were paper order forms, we were using DSLRs. And right about that time is when I started to experiment, probably 2018, I started experimenting with mirrorless cameras. My first mirrorless camera was a Fuji X-T3. Really loved that camera. And I thought that was going to be a way to really speed up the workflow. But then when PhotoDay came, then all of a sudden, we're not just taking one image of the athletes. We're taking several images of the athletes to sell. So where that really came in big with these mirrorless cameras is that you can see the image inside of the camera when you take the photo. Because with DSLRs, those were fine with paper order forms because you took 3 or 4 photos of the athlete. You go back and you look at all the images on the camera, and we would call out which image we like best. So photo, go back and look, make sure lights went off, eyes are open, you got the expression you want, call the image number, and you go to the next athlete so you can go really fast. That works fine. But if you have PhotoDay, you're trying to do a DSLR, and you'll see in the progressions that we're going to talk about in a few minutes, I'm trying to get 5, 6, 7 images of one athlete. So I can't take 20 images to make sure I got everything with a DSLR, then go back and make sure that I got each photo in the progression that I wanted. You just couldn't do that. So with mirrorless cameras, that you can see every photo after you take as soon as you take the photo, you can see the photo in the camera. That really worked very well for PhotoDay because I take the smile, got it. I can see it in the camera, go to the next image. Game face, full body, half body, flip it over landscape. I can work really fast, and I can take 6 photos and 6 sellable images and work really fast. The mirrorless cameras were huge. Flip screens as well. I loved the Nikon. I was Nikon DSLR, so I had every Nikon. And but when they came out their mirrorless camera, they had the flip screen wasn't right, and they had one card slot, so that was a no-go for me. So we went to Lumix, and then now we're at Canon. Canon has a great flip screen. They have dual card slots. So right now we're with Canon cameras. So the flip screen, why that was so important to what we do with PhotoDay is that we can put the camera on the ground. We like to shoot at very low angles. So we can shoot from the eye, we can shoot from the ground, and you get 2 completely different looks. The photo doesn't look the same, which you'll see in a few minutes. So how that helps you is that you don't have to change the pose. You can just change the angle of your camera and the focal length of your camera, and then you have a completely different image for parents to choose from. Also, one of the big things we had as far as technology goes is strobes that were battery powered. We started with Pulse Buff. Alien Bees was our first lighting system. Then we moved over to Einstein's, and then we moved over to we used Elinchrome's D lights because they were the first reliable high speed sync that was affordable. We couldn't afford a bunch of pro photos, and all those camera systems required either extension cords. You had to plug them in. So I still have probably thousands of feet of extension cords down in my garage from the days we used to pull extension cords hundreds and hundreds of feet at football fields and baseball parks. And that was terrible. That was a terrible thing to do. Then we got generators and we got vagabonds. We went through the whole battery situation. It was just a nightmare. And now when we finally switched over to Godox, I really didn't want to do it for the longest time. finally decided we need to make the switch. And it was a great switch because the battery powered lights have just been a huge deal. We don't use high speed sync. We use ND filters. We start with the high speed sync, but there's several reasons why it's not very good for doing true volume photography. So we went over to Godox, and Godox offers such an array of lights. It really works perfect for us. So we use 1200 watt lights for our main light. We use 600 for a kicker, or 400 for a buddy, or what we call a cheer light. Then we have a hair light, so we use a 200 or 100, and then whatever light we want for the background. So it just offers a lot of different, that Godox and them really expanding their line of lighting equipment really helped. And then, of course, the whole thing came together with PhotoDay, being able to use all those technology tools, whether it be the cameras or the strobes, and use that to where we could actually put it on a platform where parents could choose their images. And we had no idea that we would get so many people ordering. Now our order average went from $30 up to we're at $30 to $32, but now I think we're at about $62 an average order. So it almost doubled, which has been fantastic. And as far as PD100s go, which those of you don't know, most everybody should know here, those are orders that actually exceed $100. And right now we're over 11,000 of those over the last 4 years, which is fantastic. I can probably let's see, 4.5 years to be using PhotoDay. So before that, we were probably shooting team and individual photos for 12 years, and we might have had 100 orders over $100, and now we're at 11,000 plus. So you can see that if you take good photos that people are going to buy, you just have to give them the opportunity to buy and place big orders. Okay. All right. Leveling up your photo quality. All right. So as you see, that was the history of why we had to level up our photo quality, because our competitive environment required it. We couldn't compete with rebates, so we had to take better photos. Now, since we're on this side of it, we feel like our photos are really good, better than our competition. What I think it'd be good for you to do and incorporate the same strategy in your business is, number one, of course, is better sales. We went from $35 an average order up to $62 an average order. And of course, you're just going to make more money. And like I said, if your participation has gone down from the transition from paper order forms to online sales, that's just opportunity. If you were at a 90% participation and if you've gone down to 70%, then all that in between, that 20%, to me, is just opportunity. Okay. You're going to get those customers. You got to convert those customers, whether it be your marketing practices, your communication with your board. You can get that other 20%. You can start to move that participation up to where it was with paper order forms. That's kind of a marketing thing, in my opinion. And we really, really work hard on marketing. I do a video for every league explaining how PhotoDay works, try to get parents excited about Picture Day. And we always have one or two of our best salespeople, especially on leagues that are new or they're really big leagues. We make sure that we have somebody who would work at Chick-fil-A, just a smile on their face. They're very approachable. Parents want to talk to, and they get those parents to opt in and advance pay credits. And you have to have that on Picture Day. Don't try to do Picture Day all by yourself. A lot of photographers that come to my boot camp, they're like, I'm a one-man show, and they're proud of that. Don't be proud of that. Okay. You need help, because if you have help, that help is more than going to pay for it on sales. You do your shoot, it's going to make it easier for you to do your shoot. If you have sales and you have an assistant, physically it's going to be easier for you, so you can keep doing more shoots. And I can't tell you how many new customers I've gotten after the shoot. Right after the shoot, everybody feels great. The shoot went great. Oftentimes, especially with new leagues, I'll download a few photos from my camera to my phone, and I show it to the board member who's in charge, and like, look how great the photos turned out. They're excited, and that's the opportunity for you to ask for more business, whether it's like, you need to sign up for next year, and we get that a lot, or do you know any board members we're shooting the baseball, there's a football field right there. Do you know anybody that's running the board over there? And they'll put you in contact with that person. So if you were busy after the shoot packing up your gear because you're by yourself, that won't give you time to go talk to those parents or that board member to help you get new leagues. Okay. So It's not a flex if you're doing everything by yourself. It's not a good business decision. Make sure you have a good salesperson, you have a good assistant, so that way you can take great photos, but afterwards you're still networking, okay? You're still talking to customers and trying to get new business. You always have to try to get new business. All right. As far as another good thing, as far as leveling up your photo quality, just becoming a good photographer is fun. Okay. Once I know there's a lot of photographers that just want to, like I said, just take photos good enough to make this so the parents don't complain. Don't make that your goal. Be a good photographer. It's enjoyable. Get a lot of satisfaction from it. And you just know you're creating great memories for parents. Long-term security is a big deal for us. I feel like once we get a league, we've got the league. Sometimes we lose the league, but oftentimes they come back. So if you want like a long-term financial planning, the best thing you do is take great photos. If you're better than your competition, then you don't have to worry about re-signing for the contract the next year. But if your photos are the same as everybody else in town, and then they come in and they just offer a board member a better rebate, or they offer, I'm going to donate to the league, or they're going to offer plaques or buttons and anything they can do, just a little item to knock you out, that's no good. But if your photography is so good that the board is like, there's no way we're going to get rid of your company because these photos are so good. We don't get any complaints from parents. Everything is fantastic. The shoot runs smooth. We're good. So if you're taking great photos, then you're going to secure your long-term financial health. All right. Last thing, as far as me trying to convince you to take good photos, it would be just building a trusted brand. Okay. And I feel like we've done that. Every time when we grew really slow, and we made sure that we could grow in a way where the photo shoots are going to run well. We didn't want to grow to where we had to send out a mediocre staff or a job where we didn't have enough people, to where it was unorganized, it was chaotic. We never did that. We made sure that we could handle the business we got, and our customers have grown to trust us. And it's gotten to the point now where they let us kind of do what we want. We have pretty much creative control over what we need to do. There's some exceptions, but for the most part, we get to do what we want to do, and we get to pick field locations. Not always, and I got some examples of that, but the more of a trusted brand you have, the more sway you have with the board. You can get the better field. You can try creative things. And it just ends up being, like I said, it's a long-term financial plan if you have that trusted brand. And then COVID was a great example. When we had COVID, it was a really scary thing, but we were able to do some shoots at parks, and we scheduled them 10 minutes apart. The athletes came one at a time, and we were able to create income during COVID because everybody trusted our brand. They knew that if we were going to set up at a park and take photos, that we were going to take good images, and we were able to generate revenue even while all the leagues were taking a break. Now here I have another example of that here. This is a shoot that we did just last week. It was last week. I just lose track. We shoot every day. So last week we did this shoot, and this is one of our biggest baseball leagues. It's Canton Baseball. It ended up, this is one of our first parks as well. It was, we've been shooting them for probably 15 years now. It was one of our first big leagues, and they've really grown. I think they have over 1,000 players in the spring. It's a little bit smaller in the fall, but they do spring and fall. However, we don't shoot their fall pictures. All right. We just do spring. So I was talking to one of the board members during an All-Star Pitcher Day, just the same conversation I just talked to you about. I just did their All-Star banner. I had my assistants packing up, and she was asking me questions about fall. And she's like, we're trying to decide, should we do fall pictures or should we not do fall pictures? And we just did some smoke and stuff for the All-Star teams. I said, how about this? How about we maybe set up some stations? Why don't we do something a little bit more creative? We don't do any team photos for fall. Let's just do a sign-up process, because that's exactly what we did during COVID. Let's just Karina, my wife, she scheduled use Sign Up Genius, and she set, I think, 2 athletes every 5 minutes. It was pretty quick, but we had 4 stations. We had a dugout station. We had a behind home plate station. We had another station over there behind the fence. And then we had, I was the last station. I did the cool photos, okay, where we had the smoke and the Pro Light mods by James Quantz Jr. And we had our little signups, and this is one of the photos here that you see from the signups. They turned out great. So each athlete got to go to the 4 stations. Every station they took 4 or 5 shots. So right now, our average order for this particular shoot is $100, and right now we're at about 7,600 in sales. And by the time we're halfway, like only half the our customers have placed orders. So I think we'll be at about 12 or 13,000 in sales once we get done with this particular shoot. But again, that's part of being a trusted brand. As soon as we put the I didn't create a video or anything. All we did was send the information for league. We did the sign up genius, and it filled up just like that. And then we had to offer more spots, and they filled up. So if you weren't known for quality photography, then you're not going to have that. You're not going to be able to just do some random shoot we never do fall ball, but you know what? Let's try it. And we're going to put this out there. And as soon as we did, it filled up. So that's what you can do. That's the benefit of having a trusted brand. And 12 or 13,000 in sales for a night, to me, for a league that we'll never shoot fall ball, that's a great night. Okay, let's see here. All right. Okay. So I was telling you about, as far as, as you take good photos, people trust you. They're going to take good photos. You get put in good spots. Well, sometimes we don't. So we get a lot of comments about get the best feels and this, that, and the other. But the thing is you're still not always put in a good situation. You have to assess what you're given and try to turn a bad situation to something good. You're professional photographers. You should be able to make the photos look good in pretty much any environment. So this one was in Valdosta. It looks great, but the thing is they were holding games all day. It was kind of a nightmare. So they gave us a little sliver of we were behind the end zone. So I'm actually leaning up against, it was a sign. I think the scoreboard. I'm leaning up against the scoreboard, and we had to take the end zone and just cut off that end zone. We had players coming back through there. So the entire shoot, we're just kind of, if they're about to score, we had to wait for them to score and then move out of the way. So it was a really bad situation, but all the photos turned out great. This was at their Valdosta State College. So all the parents love these photos, but it wasn't a good situation because we were actually having to compete with them having games here in the background. Okay, let's see. All right, this one was really interesting. We pulled up, this was last year. We pulled up to this, and they're like, oh, we have a open space for you, because it was a rain out, so we had to come during the week, and I love the open spaces. Those always end up being interesting. So on this particular photo, there's a dumpster just camera right. So we're shooting right beside the dumpster. Wasn't very good looking, but this particular spot, it was uphill to the fence you see there, and there were games back there as well. So I had to angle it to where I felt like, okay, they're not going to hit the ball there very often. So let's take this little corner here. So I was able to sit right by the dumpster. It smelled fantastic. Sit by the dumpster all day and take that angle, and the photos turned out great. Thank goodness they hadn't put us back by that dumpster. But like I said, sometimes you just have to make the best of a bad situation. All right, backgrounds. We don't always get a court or a field. Sometimes we have to use backgrounds. I really don't like doing backgrounds, but it is what it is. I'm not a composite photographer. Don't have any problems with you. I know there's a lot of areas in the country where compositing is the absolute must when you have bad weather, you have wind, whatever that may be. But I'm in the South, so this is the way we don't do composites. And when we have to go where we can't have a court, we use backdrops. Okay, so this is a basketball backdrop. But what we try to do, our strategy with this is we try not to light the background. We just want it to be there. You can kind of see it, but these photos really look like it was real, like there was a basketball court back there. So that's our strategy. What I see all too often with people who do use a background is they throw so much light at the background that the background becomes prominent and not the subject. And we want the subject to be the focus of our photography, not a background. Okay. That's just the way we always shoot. We shoot. And I believe we shot this at probably a 2.8 with a real shallow depth of field. And the photos turned out great. And just remember a couple of things with backgrounds. Don't light your background. You don't want it to be this. You have to be You want it to be darker than your subject, 1 or 2 stops preferably. And you typically want a hair light. So that hair light there, you can see on my subject there, I have one light camera right, I have a kicker camera left, and then I have a hair light. If you don't have that hair light, their hair, especially she has blonde hair, so I might have gotten away with it. But if you have darker haired athletes, then that's going to be a problem if you have that darker background in the back. Okay. So make sure that's the key to backgrounds. All right. Progressions. Stevie, you already there? We're going to try. You have to let me know if we can see my screen once we go there.
I'm here. I mean, I don't know if you want to just prepare it and then we can give it a try once you get to that point. And if not, you can just talk through it.
Okay. All right. Let's see what we can do here. I'm going to share let's see, we'll share a window. Okay. We have a little technical difficulty here. So let me see if I can make this work. Let's see. All right. Give me 1 second. Okay. Share. We got it?
Yeah.
I think it's working.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. That's why we were late. We could not get this to work. So let's see. Okay. All right. So let's talk about progressions. All right. Progressions is just a term we kind of coined here at smaX, that instead of doing poses, we do progressions. Okay. And right before every shoot, me and the photographers get together, like, okay, what's your progressions? Like, how are you going to shoot the athlete? So typically we do full body, half body, then we turn the camera landscape, half body, then we go to the ground. We do full body, half body, and sometimes we do landscape. So it just depends on the sport, depends on the situation, but we kind of agree what we're going to do before the shoot. Now, in order to do this and do it fast, you have to be really good with your camera. We have some special techniques that we use as we're holding the camera to make sure that we get good photos fast. We want to shoot as straight as possible, level as possible. So that way, when you go to crop later, that you don't have a bunch of crooked pictures and you can't get an 8x10 crop out of everything. So you have to get really good with your camera. So when leagues call you and ask you if they're asking about poses, like, no, we don't do multiple poses. But we do different looks. And as a photographer, you have to be good. You have to look at your subject, start taking photos, and you have to decide within a couple of seconds if they have a good smile or a good game face. So once you make that determination, if it's a good game face, then you take more game face than smiles. If it's a good smiles, then you take more smiles than game face. And that's part of the art of what we do. You have to be able to look at that subject and figure out what's going to look best on that athlete. Sometimes I make a mistake. Sometimes I'm doing a whole game face that looks great. Then I'm like, okay, give me a smile for one. And this is unbelievable smile. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I'll go back and take a few more of the athlete. So it just depends on the situation, but you as a photographer have to make that decision. So in this video, I'm just going to show you, I think I took 5 or 6 photos of this athlete. I think the lights fire on every one. So once I take these photos, I think it takes maybe 17 seconds. Then I have those 5 or 6 photos that are sellable to my customer. All right.
Hey, Jay, unmute.
Hello? Can you see me?
Yep, you're good. Sorry, you were muted for a second.
Okay. Am I good now?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right. So going back to that, let's see here, screen share. Sorry, I lost my spot now. Window. Share. Okay. All right. So let's go through that one more time with the progressions. I think I was 5 or 6 photos there. Now, one thing I do want you to listen to as I'm taking these photos, I think I went full body, half body, then went landscape, and then from the ground, full body, half body. So that was 5 photos. But as we're going, I'm talking to my subject. Okay. Well, we get a lot of photographers that come to boot camp. What they have a hard time with is they're so worried about the camera and the way they're holding the camera that they forget their subject. Okay. So you don't want to do that. as I'm taking the photos, all of our photographers are talking to that athlete to make sure they're doing a good job. Okay. You look great. Stay right there. Don't move. Okay. Give me a smile. So that way you're keeping their attention the whole time. Okay. If you go silent on them, then they're going to wander off and you've lost them. You have to repose them and that takes time. So you want to make sure that you're engaging with your athlete the entire time. So let's go back through it one more time. Okay. Stevie, am I on mute? Am I good?
Nope, you're all good.
Okay. All right. So that is progressions there. Let me see. Let me get out of this real quick. Cancel. Okay. Am I good? Can you see me? Stevie?
Yep, I can see you. Slides back.
Okay. Got to get the slides back. Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So that was progressions. And there's a lot of details to that. The way we were holding the camera, it takes a lot of practice. We do it thousands of times, and we got it down pretty good. Love the Canon flip screens. Those work perfect for us. Okay. Oh, let's go ahead. Let's stop for 1 minute. We need to go ahead and get the AI started so we can figure that out from once we go to. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to stop for 1 second. We'll get back on progressions. But we're going to go at the end of the presentation here, we're going to talk about Imagen AI, what we're using as far as what we're using to edit our photos. Give me 1 second. Let me get this started. Is there any questions in there, Stevie, that I need to answer?
For everybody asking questions in the chat, I think I'm just going to mark them throughout so you can answer them at the end, right? You have any questions in there, Stevie, that I need to answer?
Okay, let's see.
For everybody asking questions in the chat, I think I'm just going to mark them throughout.
Okay. Okay, let me get back here, Stevie. Okay, let's see if I can go. I'm nervous that the light, let's make sure it works. Is it working? Yep. See Lightroom? Okay. All right. So this is, again, one of our big leagues here. We're going to start this Imagen AI process up. I think I have about 70 photos in this gallery. So we're just going to do a small sample here. So all I'm doing, I'm in Lightroom here. This is pretending that I've already imported all the photos. There's actually I took about 1,800 photos on this day. That's a lot. When we do, we had three photographers and we all took about 800 to 1,800 photos. So it was a big day. All right. So what I'm going to do here with Imagen AI is I'm going to export this as a catalog. Okay. Export as a catalog. And I'm just going to put this on the desktop. Now we use servers here, so it's a little bit different. If you don't use servers, you don't have to worry. I'm not exactly sure if the workflow will be the same. So let's just call this webinar 2. Okay, so we're going to export that catalog, and then we're going to, give me 1 second. We're going to let that run. Okay, give me 1 second. Let's see. And this process just depends on your computer. So I know that my computer is almost out of memory. So it might take it a second. So if you have a faster system, then you'll be good to go. Okay, we're going to let that run for just a minute. Back to slides. Start. Okay. All right. Yeah, it'll take, I'm seeing, yeah, we're still not there yet. So we'll just go back to slides. Okay. So this is an example of our progression. So you saw the basketball gym, how we did that. We did all our different progressions. Now these aren't exactly in order. So we'll see if I can kind of go through. We always start with a full body from the eye. And I don't see that photo here. I must have missed that. But then if you can see the top left here, can you see my mouse, Steve, where I'm pointing?
No, cannot.
Okay, I'll say, so top left there, that's image the full body. And then we went half body, landscape. and then I go full body from the ground. As you can see, the photo from the far left and the photo on the top left and top right, those are two completely different looks, okay? And that's what we're after. We want to be really different. Now, this guy had a great smile, and he was probably a 3-year-old. So I wasn't even worried about a game face, all right? Maybe I should have done it, but his smile was so good, and the photos were so good. Like the clouds were popping, everything was good. So I just left it alone. I didn't even worry about doing a game face with this little guy. Also, this particular shoot it's about an hour and a half from my house. And so as soon as we're pulling out, we type in, Karina gave us an hour and a half to get down there. And once we type in the directions, it showed that it's going to take us 2 hours and 5 minutes to get there. Well, it actually took us 2.5 hours to get there. So when we pulled up, we had about 6 teams waiting. If you have 6 teams, that's 60 players times 2 parents. There was close to 200 people there waiting for us once we got there. We showed up at 5:05, and then our first team was at 5 o'clock. So we were in a really big hurry for this shoot. So we had to just unload everything, set up as fast as we can. We got started about 35 minutes late. We ended up catching up, but it was crazy. But the reason why I'm telling you this is that might be one of the reasons why I didn't do game face, because as we're taking photos, we have to watch that line. I saw his big brother standing there, and I knew that his dad was a coach. So I knew that not only am I going to have to take the photos of this athlete, I'm going to have to take a picture with his brother, then I have to take a picture with the coach. Okay. So you always have to kind of keep your eyes, your peripherals looking at that line to make sure you know what's going on. And the last thing that especially that was a pressure cooker situation. What you don't want to have happen is you have this athlete posing and you take all your progressions. They walk away and they say, "Oh, we forgot he wants to take a picture with his brother." You bring the brother over. You take a picture with the athlete and the brother. They walk away and they're like, "Oh, wait, the coach, he wants to take a photo with the coach and his 2 boys." Then you have to repose them again. So that's 3 reposings. That will kill you on a shoot when you have a line behind you. You have to make sure that you're watching that line. Your assistants know that there's a buddy photo. Their job is to let you know as a photographer, so that once you take that last photo in your progression, you tell the athlete, "Don't move. Don't move." The brother comes in and we take the brother photo. All right. Don't move. "Coach, come on in." Coach comes in and you take the photo of the coach and the athlete, being real clear with your instructions, smiles and game faces. Again, you don't want to get to the point where you take a smile, they walk away and like, "Oh, could we have done a game face?" You want to try to anticipate everything, so that way you can have that shoot moving quickly. So we did half body from the eye, half body landscape. We did full body from the ground. Brother came in, that middle picture there. So he had a little brother come in, and then dad came in and just took a knee beside. Okay. And so the 2 photos we took with the coach, this was such a good looking family. I had to take an extra image. The bottom left there, you can see we took a photo of the coach from the eye. I'm sitting down from the eye. And then I changed the angle there to take that really low angle so I could capture those clouds. So that's how the progressions went there. All right. Let's look at cheer. Cheer in my area, we almost have as many cheerleaders as we do football players. It's crazy. Some of the cheer programs can have 30 girls on a team, and the football team only has 20. So we have to be really good at cheer. So this is our progression from cheer. As you can see here, the middle photo at the top, that's the full body. Top right is going to be the half body. Then we have landscape. And then we go, let's see, then I have from the ground, the bottom right, that'll be my next photo. Keep in mind, just be aware that you have to have, if you have athletes that have a little extra weight, that photo might not be as appealing. So you might have to skip that photo. Okay. Just like I said, you're the photographer. You have to make the decisions really quickly, whether that photo is going to work. So from the ground with athletes with a little extra weight may not look good. You don't have to take that photo. Okay. Then we let the cheerleader do what she wants to do. We have the fun pose over there to the left. And then we have mom come in, okay? And those 2 photos that I took, one where the cheerleader had her arms down, and then I wanted to put her arms up on her hips. She had a little leg problem. She's a handicapped girl, but they still look beautiful there. So I took that last photo is there with the cheerleader with her hands on her hips. Okay. So those are our way we'd use progressions there. Also, you can do attitude with cheerleaders as well. They like to do that, especially once they get into that 3rd and 4th, 5th grade age. Just tell them, give me attitude. We kind of switch our verbiage. We go from game face to boys to attitude for girls. So that's just the way I like to do it. Okay, so let's go to high school. Actually, that's middle school. Give me 1 second. Let's check our catalog is done. So let's go back and let's start the Imagen catalog. We're going to pause for just a second. Let's go window. All right, let me start up Imagen. Give me 1 second. Okay. Window. Okay, Imagen. Share. Okay, so this is the front page of Imagen here. So I want to create a new project, and we're going to go to edit here. We use this every day. I'm not as proficient at it as it. I was the best one in the office, and then once I figured it out, everybody took it over, and now I'm not quite the best here, but we'll see what I can do here. Okay, webinar 2. There we go, webinar 2. Choose an AR profile. We have smaX sports portraits. You can buy this profile. We've put over 100,000 images in this profile, so it's done. Like, it's a great profile. So if you need, if you don't feel like training your own photos, which you can do for your own style, but if you want to get a head start, you can start with our profile, make the tweaks, and then turn it into your own. Okay. So we use my profile there. We use crop, straight, and smooth skin. We're working on portrait crop. Okay. They're using us as a sports photography test model. So we're working on that. We're hoping to get that better. So that way the goal is putting in Imagen, it crops, straightens, color corrects, you're done, straight to PhotoDay. So we're not quite there yet, but we're really close. We're hoping in the spring that's going to be the workflow. Okay. So you see we have the 70 photos here. We're going to check there, and then we're going to upload. Okay. All right. So this is going to upload. It's going to start to do its thing, and then I'm going to get an email once that's done. Okay. Let's see here. Go back to slides. Stop sharing. Slides. Start presentation. Start. Okay. All right. So this is another cheer progression. We're talking about that. We'll go. This one does go in order. Okay. Well, almost. So let's start top left. Top left, we got full body from the eye. Then we go half body. Now, something I do want to point out here. The only reason I didn't do this is this was a really windy day. So I didn't want to put a hair light overhead. And this is a really long day. So as you can see here, these first 2 images, I could have done a little bit of the hair with a hair light. And it might just be my screen too, but it's a little bit where her hair blends into the background there. So you have to be careful there. But I did know that I had this low angle where I'd have the blue sky, and we didn't have to worry about the hair, and we could see it perfectly. So we go full body, we go half body, full body from the ground, and then we changed it up. It was a small program. I think we had maybe 60 girls, so we had plenty of time. So we allowed them to do 2 different poses. Let's back up. Full body, half body from the ground. We have this landscape photo, bottom right, and then she chose to go on the ground and stack her knees right there. Okay, so that ended up being a great photo. If you have time, you can break the rules and do different poses. Okay, especially when you have middle school athletes, cheerleaders, they really know how to pose. They can do their thing, and it's good because you want the girls to be standing there watching each other. If they're watching each other, they typically get more creative the deeper you go through that line. So we try to give them a few examples of what they can do, and then they start seeing their teammates, and then they start coming up with their own poses. Okay, let's go to football. This is a football program that I do every year, and I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, they wanted to do it in the locker room. So we said, okay, let's do it in the locker room. The only problem with that locker room, it is the smelliest locker room in the state of Georgia. It is just awful. So you have to literally go in the locker room and you have to stay in there. You can't, because you have a gag reflex, and it's terrible. And it's just so sickening. You can't walk outside, because if you walk outside and walk back inside, you have to go through that whole process again. So you have to just stay in the funk until you get used to it, and then take your photo. So we did that every year. And then one year, the locker room, they couldn't use, they put us in the weight room. And so from then on, I'm like, please don't ever put us in that locker room again. Let's do the weight room. So we've had a couple of these weight room shoots this season, and they turn out, I think they look great. what I did here is I had a main light. I had a hair light. You got to have a hair light in these dark environments. Remember, with the backdrops, we had to have that hair light. So I don't think I did put an edge light there. And then also I put a gel in the background to kind of, they're blue programs. So I wanted to have a little blue accents in the back. And so I use MagMod for gels. They have a great system. And they're really easy to put, not those little paper things. You just pop the gels inside the reflectors, and we had that blue in the background. And so what I did, I was sitting on the ground again. I take it from the eye, and the second photo there, I took from the ground. It's not too much of a difference. It was a subtle difference. And then we had them stand up. They're all sitting on the bench right here. And then they just stand up, tuck the ball. They either put their arm here in their shoulder pads, they let their arm hang, or they grab their hip, one or the other, gave them the choice. So that was our progression in the locker room. And these turn out great every season. So if you're looking for something a little bit different and you have access to a weight room, this is a good thing you can do with the players. And, use the benches, use something to make it a little bit more creative. And it's really simple for them. All they had to do is sit down and then stand up. So you had two poses that you can get done really quick. Okay. All right, we have team photos here. This was actually seniors, all right? And I'm not sure if you saw any of you saw Beer in the Boat last night, but if you didn't, go back and I don't know, do we have access? You can probably put access to that on PhotoDay, huh, Stevie? Those of you, maybe not. Okay.
Yeah,
but we were talking about custom photo shoots compared to volume photo shoots. So a lot of the parents out there are seeing Brad Deal and Rock Downtown Media and the great work that they're doing, and they want that for their athletes. But those are custom photo shoots. They're moving their lights. The main thing is they're collecting money up front. They're not doing speculation like we do, and they move the lights around and take a lot of time with each athlete. But each athlete's paying a lot of money, so we don't have the time to do that, and a lot of our teams aren't going to invest. They might invest in that, but it's just not our business model. We want to stick with the volume. So we try to compromise here. So what we've done is we do these shoots where if they have senior banners, then we'll do something special for the seniors. So we'll bring the smoke out for the seniors. We'll take the senior individual banners, and they'll do a senior group shot. So this particular basketball team, they had 4 seniors. And so this is the progression that I did when I had the seniors together. Top left photo is just a photo with a blue gel in the background. Now, they are the Blue Devils, this particular team. So we did just no smoke. The second photo, top right, you can see we put a little atmospheric aerosol. Any of you who want to use atmospheric aerosol, I do have a discount code for that. I think it's smaX 15. I'll have to get that for you. I can post that on PhotoDay. So we use the atmospheric aerosol there in the background to light up that blue gel up. And then the bottom left, this is my assistant Jody's idea, and I really love the idea. It just looked kind of cool showing the light. So the bottom left, I zoomed out and I included all the lights. So that looked pretty cool. And that was from the eye. So I'm sitting down, I'm taking from the eye. All right. And then the last photo, the bottom right, was all of our favorite photos. That was on the ground. So the reflections there really pop, and you see the little starburst you see on the lights. That was a complete accident, but I just acted like, I knew exactly what I'm doing. So that was kind of cool. So you have the effects of the lights, the starburst, and leave the equipment in there. Anyway, that turned out to be a great photo. So little progressions that you can do. And sometimes they're not planned. Sometimes you have a happy accident, which we had here. All right. Gymnastics. So we do a lot of gymnastics, and they're take a little more time because we don't do the progressions necessarily with gymnastics. We do poses, and Karina, my wife, schedules it out. So we allot for, I don't know if Karina's listening, she can tell you it's 1 to 2 minutes per athlete. So it's a little bit, we schedule it out a little bit longer for a gymnastics, but typically what we want to do is have one pose standing, one pose on the ground, and then we'll do one pose in a profile position, or it might be one, and then we can do progressions from there. Okay. So you can see here, with this particular photo, the bottom left there is where we would start. That's from the ground. That's her standing pose. And then she had her sitting pose, the bottom right, that's from my eye. And that's landscape or portrait, and then I flip the camera over to get a little bit different look at the top left, and that's going to be landscape mode. And then we turn lights off, turn another light on, and then we want to have a elegant profile photo. Okay. And we like the girls to stretch their arms out. We don't want them in a straight line because that wouldn't look too good, look too flat. So we position so that's what's nice. We have a lot of light, a lot of Godox light. So this might be a 5 light setup. So we set up an extra light so that way we can turn the main light off, turn our profile light on, and then we create a completely different look. And we do turn everything into black and whites as well. So that would be our progressions for gymnasts. Okay. Team photos. All right. This particular, I just did this last week. I shot this with a 70-200. Oh no, I'm sorry. The new Canon 24-105. I love that lens. If you're thinking about it, it's fantastic. It's a 24-105 2.8. And typically what we like to do for teams, 2 smiles, 2 game face or attitude, and then a silly photo. And with a silly photo, we want them to really, and my wife Karina was telling me that they're starting to get to where the last league we just did, they're starting to bring props for the silly photos. So after a few years, they kind of get used to it, and now they're bringing props, which is kind of fun. You can pretty much guarantee that you're going to sell those photos if they're bringing stuff. So top left, you can see that's the smile. Top right and bottom left, that's the game face. Typically, I like to just, get a good smile photo, making sure all the players are in gaps. So you can see everybody very well. Those are GPS risers. I get those from Group Photographers Supply, GPS, Andy Gould. That's where I get those benches that you see the athlete sitting on. So we got the smile, then we have the game face. They're going to cross their arms, and then we have the fun photo there, bottom right. So again, we're still doing progressions even for team shots, different looks. So some parents want to buy one or the other. Some parents buy multiple team photos. Okay. All right. So we should be good. Let's see if, let me go over here, see if Imagen is done. Hopefully I did this right. Give me 1 second, guys. Webinar 2. Okay. All right. Give me 1 second. Let me share my screen here. Window. Okay. So these are all of our different jobs here. You see here, this is that job we started with. We have 70 images, so I can download to review. All right. So I'm downloading my edits. And then it's just going to open a new Lightroom catalog for me, okay? Now, this is where we're a little bit different. This might not be your exact workflow. This is the way we have to do it because we have to have separate catalogs because we're using a server. If you're not using a server, then you can open it up in the current catalog, okay? So we're going to relaunch there. Skip this time. All right, just give this 1 second. Stevie, can you see Lightroom opening?
Right now, I just
unlock your iPhone first.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Let's see.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
I'm not talking to you, Siri. All right. Let's see here.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
Window. Oh, I'm not showing. Okay, here it is. Okay, you see Lightroom?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, guys. So this is this would be our Imagen gallery. All right, so this before and after. So you can see before, those blues aren't quite as blue, the reds aren't as red. So this is after for Imagen. So we can just fly through here. As you can see, there's full body, half body. We have a smile landscape. Go from the ground there. Now, okay, I want to go back to point out one thing. Now, you're going to see a little bit of difference here in the sky, and that's from the ND filter. When you use ND filters, you have a little bit of color shift between landscape and portrait mode. It is what it is. There's 2 pieces of glass in there. There's nothing you can do about it. The other option to get rid of that is high-speed sync, but there's a number of disadvantages with high-speed sync. Namely, you're going to run through your batteries really quick. And the second thing is you have less power. So that's why we don't use it. So we find it's it's not perfect, but it's better to use ND filter than it would be to use high speed sync. Now I know that Sony, it has the global shutter, which I'm hoping that technology will get better. It's not quite there yet for me, but when it does happen, that'll be a great option for us. All right, so then we go landscape, we go full body from the ground, and there's a before, there's after, there's before, there's after. Okay, and then it's also doing crop and straightening in there for me as well. Okay. And then there is the buddy shot. This particular league has a ton of buddy shots. So we had to be on point. It was a massive league, 100+ teams that day. So we have full body, half body. We're going to do landscape, go over to the ground, from the ground, half body. And we have coach's photo. All right. Next photo, not so good. Not a great smile. Let's see what we have here. And his head was not tilted right. Something we have to learn in boot camp there. All right. We have the head tilted right there. Then we go, you're not even looking. There we go. That's a great photo. That's the photo that I want. These last few photos, not so good. Not sure. This one, maybe. But that right there is a photo I know that I'm going to love right there. So sometimes you get difficult athletes. Not every image is going to be good, but if you can get one really good one of athlete, you've done your job. So the crop's not quite right, so we probably move this crop down just a little bit, okay? And so that's all we're doing with Imagen right now is we're just tweaking the crop. Pretty much the colors are spot on. We're good to go, but we're still working on that crop with them. And there's our half body. And this particular athlete had up to brothers, okay? So a lot of stuff going on. Again, here we go. And Karina schedules us typically about 10 minutes per team. So there were 70 photos in this gallery here. So I don't know. I probably got done in 12 minutes. Who knows? But there's a lot of buddy photos with this particular league. So you have to be ready for that. Okay. And you have to have a system to shoot buddies. All right. If you don't have a system to shoot buddies, you're going to be in big trouble. Your shoots are going to run so behind. And what's bad about it is once you do that, once you run behind, then you're rushing. And if you're rushing, you're not taking your best photos. And we're shooting on speculation oftentimes. So that means the parents see the photos and you're rushed and you didn't take good photos, then they're not going to buy. So you have to make sure you have a system in place where you can get these teams in and out. Coaches are happy, parents are happy because the shoot is moving smooth, but you still have to take great photos that parents are going to buy. Your photos can't be the same as an iPhone. If your photos can be the same as an iPhone, parents aren't going to buy. You have to have good photography. All right. So this, we changed it up a little bit because this little guy, I was wondering, so why did I take this guy first? It's not like our progression of things, but he was crying. My little man was crying, and he was he had stopped crying for a second. And I was like, okay, let's get him in. So we took the buddy photo first. All right. So and I just, big brother, hold his hand, make him feel good. So the mom was so happy about these photos, and I nailed the first. I love the first photo. It was good enough. Okay. Second one. Okay. But we got it. All right. There's big brother. We took the glasses off. All right. So we got full body, half body, landscape, and then we're going to go game face there. He's kind of messing with his lips there. There we go. All right. And as you can see here, what happened with this athlete, as I was explaining before with your progressions, for some reason, this particular athlete liked to do his lips funny when we went to a game face. Okay. So that last photo, his mouth was open, but he had a great smile. So that last image from the ground, I got the clouds. I knew he had a better smile than game face. So the last image I made for a smile. Okay. We'll just go through one or two more athletes. There we go. He had a great game face. All right. Here's one of those guys. And then he hits me with that smile. So it was fantastic. So typically what I like to do is I like to just let the athlete do what they want. Smile, game face, just typically whatever they're best at, they'll do first. But I like to have this photo right here, that close up, as a smile. Okay. They can do whatever they want on those first two, but that close up, I want to be a smile. I want to see their eyes. That's the one I know that mom's going to love. And then from the ground, his smile was so good, I just left it alone. But I do like that game face from the ground, that, he's looking larger than life. And I would probably adjust this crop just a little bit here. It's a little bit off. And we want that really stoic look there from the ground. And we go half body. And then my man has his dad pop in. Okay. Love that photo. I mean, that's a fantastic photo. If you're a dad, that age boy, that's just priceless there. All right, we'll go through one more. So we got my man here. Don't know about that smile. I probably haven't seen these photos since I actually took them. So I'm kind of critiquing them as I go here. So I might adjust this crop just a little bit. I'd like to see that a little bit better there. All right, we got half body, go landscape. All right, from the ground, my man's smiling. I'm not sure about that game face. That's okay. Game face, but he's got his cross on, his chain. He looks pretty good. Then we have dad. He's kind of goofy, so maybe we know why that photo was a little bit goofy. So, all right. And okay, last guy. Okay, so we got a good smile there. And before we shoot, we're kind of determined. We're talking about where we want that foul pole. Okay, so we have a little bit of grass. We have the foul pole, and I try to back away from those trees so that way we get some sky in there. Full body, half body. We go landscape there. We're going to go from the ground. He's got a little smirk. I like the smirk. He doesn't necessarily have to have game face. If you have a little smirk, I like that. Adjust the crop just a touch. There we go in half body. And then we have him and his dad. See his dad, he's not goofy, so they worked out pretty good. All right, so that's basically how Imagen works. As you can see, there's before, there's after. It's just a little color pop, and you can see that before the color's a little bit more muted. We just add a little bit of color pop, and it does the straightening cropping for us. So once we put it in there, then we're going to export, and we post everything to PhotoDay, and it has been fantastic for us. Let me see. Let's see how to go back to, let's see.
You need your slides?
No, I think I'm out. I think I'm out of slides.
That's not true.
Oh, really? Do I have more? Oh, yeah. I have one of the most important ones. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay. All right. Last thing, Boatwright Bootcamp. So hopefully you liked all the content. That is just like a small portion of what we do at Boatwright Bootcamp. We talk about everything. We talk about PhotoDay. We talk about Imagen. We talk about crowd control, lighting inside, lighting outside. We do backdrops. We do pro light mods. This year we're having Paul Elise. He's going to come. Leslie, I'm sorry, Paul. He's going to talk about green screen. I'm not a green screen guy, but Paul is my favorite green screen artist. He makes those athletes look. You can't tell whether or not they're standing on a real field or it's composite. He's fantastic. So Paul's going to go through his system. It's an absolutely great boot camp. As a matter of fact, I think maybe 30 or 40% of every boot camp is filled with photographers that have already been to one. There's so much content that they go to the first one, they go back and apply the principles, and they come back to refine and really perfect their skills, because what we teach is a repeatable system. That you kind of saw a little bit of that today, and we don't do it online just because it's pretty much impossible to have all that content. So this year it's a 3-day. We added half a day, so it's a full 3 days. We have a great party. We have a good time. We take lots of good photos. So we do have a few spots open. So if you're going to grab a spot, go ahead and get it before they're all gone. All right. I think that's everything.
Do you have time for a couple of questions?
Sure.
All right. So you want me to read them out to you? Okay.
Yeah. What happened?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Or maybe we should put the boot camp logo sign back. We'll keep that one up. Sorry. Maybe I can do. There we go. I got it, Stevie. I got it. There we go. Okay. We'll leave that one up.
Ooh, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yes, so, okay. Do you want to read through the Q&A, or do you want me to read them out to you?
Go ahead and read them out.
All right. So, okay. Patrick asks, what lights did you use for the baseball photo? And these are also going back from the beginning of the presentation. So if you just want to. Oh,
baseball photo, the pro light mods. I did use 8600s. It was, I was underneath the pavilion. So, that pavilion, I started in daylight. So I actually parked my Sprinter next to the athlete to try to create, try to get as dark underneath that pavilion as I could. I had a black backdrop, big black backdrop, and I used 8600s. I used more powerful lights because I used a filter. I tried to get as dark, and I probably was shooting like f8 or f11 to really make sure that everything went dark. That way you could see the smoke. So I did have to use 8600s for my 2 lights for the Pro Light mods, and then I used a AD 1200 for my main light. Go Docs.
Got it. Okay. Lily asks, what is the distance between the background and the players when you're using a backdrop?
Well, that varies with everything because there's so many factors. You have ambient light, you have where your light's going to be placed. There's a lot of factors, but you want that background far enough to where you don't want a lot of your main light spilling on it. You want just a little bit of light spilling on it so you can see it. If you have to place a light on the backdrop, you can. You just want to make sure it's feathered, and you want to make sure it's just barely enough light to see that backdrop. So that's something that in each situation you have to kind of it's going to be unique, but again, just make sure you don't light that backdrop too bright. And it just saves you a ton of time because I feel like I said, I'm not a composite. I'm just from other composite photography. The way we do things, we want to offer lots of different options for parents. So backdrops, it still allows us to go through our progressions. They might we really can't go from that low angle from the ground, but we can still do landscape. We can still do portrait. We can still do smile or game face, and we still do buddy photos with a backdrop. So I think that's a little bit more difficult to add all those photos to composites because that means you have to, work on all those different images. So, yeah.
Okay. Where do you purchase the backdrops?
Different places. I think Background Town is one of them. We used to use Colorado Timberline, but they're no longer in business. But I think the guy restarted. But I think Background Town and Denny's are where we got most of ours. Denny Manufacturing, I think of those two. But any visit to a show, that's you might want to go to Sync or go to not Sync, SPAC. I think has some backgrounds, and then Imaging USA always has a lot of backgrounds.
Got it. Okay, and what light are you using for the hair light?
Whatever I have left over. Typically, one of our kits, we have a 1200, we have a 400, 600, and a 200 or a 100. So I typically want to have either the 200 or 100 overhead, and I just use bare bulb because I don't want that. When I'm booming stuff, I want it to be as light and easy as possible. So usually 200 or 100.
Okay, and then where are parents when you're doing an outdoor shoot? How are you keeping them away?
Great question. That's really important because on these big shoots, smaller shoots, it's not that big a deal, but you just don't need parents, over you because the biggest problem with parents is they're trying to talk to the athlete while you're trying to do your job, and it ends up being a mess. And oftentimes, they're not looking in your camera. So what gets on my nerves the most is when they say, lift your head up. It's like, I don't want their head. I want their head down so I can see their eyes. Anyway, it's a big problem. We have a lot of crowd control that we use. We have our own smaX tape that we use to keep parents out. We block them out as best we can. Baseball fields are pretty easy because you can just make sure that the only people that come out are the athletes and parents. Your salesperson can help keep parents off the field. Signs, you can't have just one A-frame. You have to be obnoxious about it. Like you have to crane and princess out like 10 coaches and athlete only signs and puts them all over the fence. The best way to do it, if you have the option, is to have a board member or the president of the league send out information, parents don't be on the field, and have one of them out there enforcing that, because the last thing you want to do is be rude to your parents. They still have to buy photos. So you have to be really careful what you say to parents. So having a representative from the actual league policing that for you, that's the best case scenario.
Totally. Okay. Is there a specific lens you're using for progressions?
70-200, 2.8. 70-200, 2.8 is our those are our go-to lenses. Yep. Okay.
What about the wind? How are you dealing with the wind?
Well, there's all kind of different ways you can deal with wind. The wind master is Brad Shook out in South Dakota. Like I think the average winds is like 30 or 40 miles an hour. A lot of sandbags and big beefy stands. For us in Atlanta, The spring is typically windy. I've gone through a few really windy seasons here. We make sure that we set our light stands up right, meaning that there's a technique to it. You have to put a sandbag opposite the wind. You have to, there's a lot of different ways you can combat it. If you were using scrims, we have to make sure the scrims are as parallel to the ground as possible so the wind just goes over them. But really big, heavy stands and a lot of sandbags are going to be the best way to combat the wind.
Sweet. Okay. And then I think we'll do, let's see, one more question. How does the team photo fit into y'all's shoot workflow?
Into what workflow?
Like, how are you handling team photos when you're doing your big shoots? Like, where does that fit in during the shoot?
It's still one team every 10 minutes, and that can be up. We can handle one team photographer can handle three. We have 3 individual lines, right? Shooting individuals, and each photographer has one team every 10 minutes. Then we can still have one team photographer. If we have 2 lines of individual photographers, then we have one team photographer working on their own. So that means they have one team every 5 minutes. That's really not that big a deal. If you add one more photographer, so 3, like I was just mentioning, then you might need to have an assistant with that team photographer, meaning that that assistant is lining up the athletes, tallest to smallest or smallest to tallest, whatever you want to do. They're talking to the coach, getting the players ready, that sort of thing. Just an assistant, just to help things move along. So in the case where you have to have 4 or 5 photographers, then you might have to open up a second team photography line.
Got it. Okay. Last question. I think we answered one of them about the about what you use to make shade would be sunscreen, right? So now the last question is, do you have a recommended ND filter brand?
That's a tough one. We've gone through a lot of those. Right now I'm using the NISI, NISI. I like that filter. Also like the Freewell filters. That's a good filter. And also Peter McKinnon. I felt like the Peter McKinnon, it's really strange because pretty much everybody in the Boatwright Bootcamp, once you go to a boot camp, you also get access to our private Facebook group. And so we share. It's nice to have a group of photographers in there that are sharing stories because we're all shooting the same way pretty much. And so I have different stories from different filters. I think it matters on which filter you get, which lens you're using it with, and not every lens is the same. So it's really, I think if you went with a Peter McKinnon, a Freewell, or a NISI, I'm not NISI, that would be good. I would call John Scott at Roberts Camera. He's my gear guy, and he's the best there is. He can tell you the pros and cons of each filter, and that way you can be fairly educated. But again, once you really don't know which one you're going to like best until you put that filter on your particular lens and start using it.
Right. Now, okay, well, looks like there is a question about St. Pete and Boatwright Bootcamp being at St. Pete. So as far as we know, everything is fine and Bootcamp.
Yes. Matter of fact, just last weekend, I was supposed to be down there shooting our leagues, and I'm pretty sure all of our leagues are rescheduling. So that's good. So we're going to go down there in a couple of weeks. But I'm in touch with the Parks and Rec department of St. Pete, and I talked to him last week and I said, how are things going to look in December? And he said, we're going to be good to go for December. The location of the baseball field is not on the beach. We're probably 10 miles inside into St. Pete. And so we're good to go. And the other Parks and Rec Center, we're doing that baseball field's outside, that we're going down the street for the brand new Parks and Rec Center. That didn't get any physical damage. So we're good to go. The only thing, I'm just not sure about access to the beach. I'm not sure if the beach is going to be open, but look, we're there for photography. It's going to be nice weather, and we're there for photography. If the beach is not open, it's not going to be the worst thing in the world. So it'll be okay. And, we're going to be right next to Reedy Lab. So I talked to Stan Reedy. We use Reedy Lab. They're Absolutely fantastic. That's my favorite lab that PhotoDay has as a partner. And Stan is willing to open up the lab. So Thursday, if you get there Thursday or you want to go Friday morning, you want to tour the lab, they're going to welcome you. So that's kind of a little added benefit that we're going to be right next to Reedy Lab. So you go tour the lab and see what they do there.
Awesome. All right. Well, that is sweet. I sent links for bootcamp itself in the chat, as well as Jay's Imagen profile. So you guys check those out. And I sent the Beard in the Boat link as well. Okay, so I know our cameras are kind of in the way, but here is the pricing of PhotoDay. The good thing is that we don't get paid unless you get paid. So the best part about our platform is that we are committed to your success. Here are all the things that are included in the price of PhotoDay, but we also are there to partner with you. So if you are brand new to PhotoDay, please visit our support chat and ask about scheduling a call to talk to us about getting started. If you're not new, schedule a call with us also. We can answer any questions and go over strategy stuff with you. Yeah, thank you so much, Jay. Thank you for all this awesome information today. I think that is it.
Okay. Awesome. All right, guys. Hope to see you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jay.
All right. Bye-bye.